Okay, so choosing a class in Elden Ring. Classes in Elden Ring determine your character's base stats and starting equipment. While a class might identify with a traditional role you'd see in other RPGs, FromSoft titles don't feature item restrictions or dedicated skill trees. So a hero with low intelligence could become a spellcaster with enough investment, or a Confessor could wield an ultra greatsword if you level the stat strength enough. Classes do not restrict you in any way. Okay, so that's good. It's also worth noting that some classes can achieve stat distributions with fewer character levels than others, otherwise known as min-maxing. So this doesn't impact the PvE much at all, but your character level does impact how PvP works. So in essence, you'll be invade players with a similar level and gear progression to your own.
I think it's also pretty important to understand what these stats all represent, so let's cover it really quickly before we jump into all the character classes. So level, this is the level of your character. As this goes up, you'll be able to add points to the below stats. To increase your level, you have to sit at a campfire and you have to use some of the runes that you've accumulated through your journey, and you just will constantly have to feed that into specific stats you want to level up. Vigor, shorthand is VIG. This directly correlates to the HP of your character. Mind, shorthand is MND, increases your character's focus points, so your magic capacity. Next, we have Endurance, END. Endurance increases your character's stamina, which is used to perform actions such as running, rolling, and attacking, as well as how much gear you can wear. Strength, STR. Strength determines what kind of damage output you'll have on strength-based melee weapons. Dexterity determines what kind of damage output you'll have with dexterity-based melee weapons. This will also affect the speed at which you can cast spells. Intelligence, INT, determines what kind of damage output you'll have with most sorceries. Faith determines what kind of damage output you'll have with most incantations. And Arcane determines what kind of damage output you'll have with some sorceries and some incantations. This can also increase luck-based checks like gathering loot or dealing critical hits.
So when they're talking about Vagabond, so if we look at the first guy, A and B, the Vagabond stats and equipment are, let's see, it says level 9, vigor 15, mind 10, endurance 11, strength 14, dexterity 13, intelligence 9, faith 9, and then arcane is 7. And they say your starting equipment is a longsword or a halberd, and the armor is the Vagabond set with a heater shield, and there's no items. Okay, so the Gamer has a really good article on all of these. They say the Vagabond's the perfect class for newcomers to the Souls genre and veterans that want to make a quality build, because Vagabonds feature the highest vigor stat out of all 10 classes available, and they have a hefty amount of points in strength and dexterity. This makes Vagabonds adept with just about every weapon you'll stumble across in an early game, including their starting longsword and halberd. Should you find a weapon that requires higher stats, increasing your strength and dexterity shouldn't be much of a hassle. So the Vagabond starts with a heavy equip load, and unequipping your helmet to lower your equipment load is highly recommended. As for the endgame, Vagabonds have the ideal stats for quality builds that spec equally for strength and dexterity, get both stats to 40, find a weapon that scales with you in both stats, and you should be set for your first playthrough. If you're someone who wants to make a spell sword, the Vagabond isn't a bad option either. Although classes like the Prophet and Prisoner do slightly better than this, the Vagabond is still very versatile. The Warrior starting stats are level 8, Vigor is 11, Mind is 12, Endurance is 11, Strength is 10, Dexterity is 16, that's the highest stat that it has. Intelligence is 10, Faith is 8, and Arcane is 9. You get a dual wield scimitar basically. The armor is that blue cloth warrior armor and riveted wooden shield, but there's no items again. So rapid sword strikes and dodging are what makes the warrior best. This is Elden Ring's main dexterity class, featuring the highest dexterity stat of all classes available. More importantly, warriors start the game with 2 scimitars you can swing or power stance simultaneously. They deal great damage, strike fast, and fairly easy to use. And for Souls veterans that want some added defense, the warrior's wooden shield is a great option for parrying humanoid targets. Warriors are great for dexterity and dexterity intelligence hybrid builds as well. Since they have the highest dexterity stat, warriors can reach up to 40 or 60 dexterity slightly faster than other classes. This class also has enough starting intelligence in mind to use weaker spells as well. So if you want to use fast-hitting weapons for your Elden Ring playthrough, the warrior's a great choice. Hero's starting stats and equipment, level 7, but vigor is 14, mind is 10, endurance is 12, strength is 16, dexterity is 9, intelligence is 7, so they're a dummy. Faith is 8, arcane is 11. You get a battle axe, you get the champion set armor with a leather shield, with a large leather shield. The hero is Elden Ring's signature strength class, so a starting strength of 16 is enough to wield most of Elden Ring's heavier weapons in the early game. Perfect for players that want to crush their foes with a mighty greatsword or club. To compensate, the hero has rather lackluster caster stats. They might not be smart, but their arcane stat is 11, so players that want to make strength builds should pick this class. You get great swords, clubs, and other heavy weapons that perform really well with this class. Just remember that your dexterity and caster stats are quite low, so don't bother making quality hybrid builds with this class. Heroes are all brawn, no brain. The bandit level is 5. So far this is the lowest level that we've seen. Vigor is 10, mind is 11, endurance is 10, strength is 9, dexterity is 13, intelligence is 9, faith is 8, and arcane is 14. The weapons you get are a great knife and a short bow, as well as you get the bandit set and buckler in terms of armor. And to start off, you get 30 arrows. This is the first class to actually have items. So the bandit is a high-risk, high-reward class that relies heavily on critical hits. In Elden Ring, critical hits refers to backstabs, parry counters, and hits to an enemy's weak point. You start with a knife that has a pitiful range and subpar damage per swing. However, it attacks quickly and deals excellent backstab and counterattack damage. To help you land these counterattacks, you have a buckler, one of the best parrying tools in the game. And for enemies that you can't parry, a few arrows from your shortbow should soften them up. Dexterity builds work best with the bandit, but we do not recommend that newcomers choose this class. Parrying targets is an incredibly risky playstyle that doesn't work well on every enemy type. Veteran Souls players that want to mix it up might get a kick out of this class. It plays surprisingly well with the Elden Ring stealth mechanics. So you should be an experienced player to use the bandit. It is a tough class to use. Now we get to the Astrologer. The Astrologer, level 6, Vigor 9, Mind 15, Endurance 9, Strength 8, Dexterity 12, Intelligence 16, Faith 7, Arcane 9. The weapons you get are the Astrologer's staff and short sword, and the armor you get is the Astrologer set with a scripture wooden shield. And the spells, you get a glintstone pebble and a glintstone arc. So astrologers are your go-to spellcasters for the early game. They have the highest base intelligence out of the classes and start with 2 spells. Glintstone pebble fires a small projectile with a short cast time, perfect for killing fodder enemies, so you can mob quickly. When you get swarmed, glintstone arc can be used to fire a piercing wave of magic at your foes. Of course, you won't always have FP to spare. Hence, this is why this class also starts with a short sword and a wooden shield. So intelligence builds will want to start as astrologers. Their high starting intelligence and mind are ideal for a classic spellcaster. Find a vendor who sells sorceries as soon as possible, upgrade your staff, and you should be set. You can even spec into a dexterity intelligence build if you want to play using a spell sword. Okay, so level 7, Vigor 10, Mind 14, Endurance 8, Strength 11, Dexterity 10, Intelligence 7, Faith is 16, Arcane is 10. The weapons and starting equipment that you get, the weapons are a short spear and a finger seal. Armor is a prophet set and a rickety shield, and the spells are heal and catch flame. So the prophet is a pyromancer and a cleric merged into one class. Unlike the Dark Souls series, pyromancies and miracles have been merged into one discipline of magic. This allows the prophet to start with an offensive and defensive spell. Heal allows you to convert FP into HP, and catch flame acts as a short-range flame blast that deals solid damage in the early game. You also get a short spear and a rickety shield for when you need to play defensively. Most faith builds will want to start as a prophet. We also recommend that any newcomer interested in playing a spell sword start as a prophet. Merging pyromancies and miracles into one discipline has made a faith powerhouse of a utility stat. You can heal yourself and summon spirits, deal damage with fire or lightning, and buff yourself with the myriad of spells. With a little investment in strength, you can even turn this class into a paladin. This seems like a very, very flexible class, but
Dude,
the only downfall is that you have a cloth over your eyes and you're wearing a toilet seat around your neck.
that's hot. If
Samurai has level 9, Vigor 12, Mind 11, Endurance 13, Strength 12, Dexterity 15, Intelligence is 9, Faith is 8, and Arcane is 8. The weapons you start off with is the Uchigatana and the longbow. The armor is the Land of Reed set and Red Thorn round shield. Items you get are 20 arrows and 10 fire arrows. The samurai is the ultimate martial class. They're similar to the Vagabond in terms of stats, featuring a heavy bias towards strength and dexterity. Where the samurai differs is its starting equipment. This class, you get the Uchigatana and a longbow, arguably one of the best starting loadouts in the game. The Uchigatana deals excellent damage, can bleed targets, and has a good weapon art. For ranged encounters, the longbow deals respectable damage from long range. Quality builds work best with this class, although dedicated strength and dexterity builds can also work. If you're stuck between this class and the Vagabond, consider the gear they start with. You have a ranged option as a samurai, while the Vagabond has better starting armor. So the prisoner levels 9, Vigor is 11, Mind is 12, Endurance is 11, Strength is 11, Dexterity is 14, Intelligence is 14. They've got the lowest faith in the game at 6, and Arcane is 9. So the prisoner is a traditional spell sword, allowing you to use dexterity weapons and sorceries with equal mastery. Prisoner starts the game with a stock, a shield with the ability to parry incoming attacks, and a staff. You also know magic glint blade, a spell that releases a magic homing sword after a lengthy delay. Just about every encounter can be solved with your starting loadout. Your stats make it fairly easy to wield better early game spells and weapons. Dexterity intelligence hybrid builds work best with the prisoner. Just about any classic spell sword build will work with the prisoner, and even dedicated dexterity or intelligence builds can work. If you're jumping into Elden Ring with an interest in spell casting, consider playing this prisoner. So, the Confessor, level 10, which is the highest starting in the game. Vigor 10, Mind 13, Endurance 10, Strength 12, Dexterity 12, Intelligence 9, Faith 14, Arcane 9. Weapons and starting equipment. You get a broadsword and a finger seal. The armor is the Confessor set, a blue crest heater shield, and the spells that you get are Urgent Heal and Assassin's Approach. The Confessor is a faith spellcaster that can double as a spell sword. Confessors start with the fantastic broadsword, a decent shield, and 2 spells. Urgent Heal is a solid skill for converting FP into HP, and the Assassin's Approach can be useful for backstabbing humanoid targets in camps scattered across the lands between. Dexterity, Faith, and Strength Faith builds work best with the Confessor, although pure Faith builds can work just as well. If you're a newcomer, the Confessor is a good choice for experiencing the wide range of weapons and spells that Elden Ring has to offer. The Wretch has the lowest starting level at 1, and all of the stats are 10. Wretches are a blank slate with almost no starting gear. You start the game with 10 in every single stat and only have a wooden club as your melee weapon. You have no armor and you have no items. If you want armor, you'll need to find it. That sounds terrible at first glance, yet the Wretch's even stat distribution makes it a fantastic class for veteran soul players. Once you learn where the good early game weapons and armor are located, the downside to playing the Wretch is quickly alleviated. Wretches work with any build in Elden Ring, although they don't excel at anything in particular. We don't recommend this class to soul newcomers since you have virtually no gear, but anyone acclimated with previous FromSoft titles can mold the Wretch into whatever they want to play as.
Thanks for watching, and we hope this helped you out. If you liked the video, feel free to subscribe, like it, and tell your friends. Next time, we'll cover keepsakes.